Hello Internet! Welcome to another video review courtesy of the one and only Adventure Link. That's me! Well, this is my channel and my stuff, so what more was you expecting of the Ninja Turtles? Well, Ninja Turtles ice cream on the ice cream truck season, it's slowly starting to get upon us. My quest has failed so far, but I will find it and I will have it and I will tell you all about it. But with that being said, it's been about 3 weeks since the Samsung Galaxy S4 has been released, and I know it's late, but here's my fair, balanced, and objective video review on my experiences with the Samsung Galaxy S4 thus far. Well, what can I say after 3 weeks of it being released and me playing with it? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you and announce this. Unfortunately today, it got killed in action. What happened was that, thanks to sitting in my pocket for 15 minutes trying to drive somewhere so I can get from the house to pay bills, the phone itself bent, the screen cracked, and it's unresponsive. As you can see, you may or may not see it in the video, but in person, the frame itself does look kind of bent off. The screen's cracked. You may or may not be able to see the damage done to the screen, but here it is up close. If you can see it, cool, and if not, oh well. I can give you free demonstrations of what's going on though. As you can see, nothing. I'm pushing the button, and all it's doing is just turning this little unusual red light on. No screen responses whatsoever. And up at the top, if you can see it or not, you may or may not be able to, but there's some screen glitches up at the top too. So I'm going to give this as just as a fair warning to anyone considering the S4. Please get an OtterBox. Unfortunately, when the phone was first released, you know, there's not going to be many cases for it. I understand. But now that it's been out for a few weeks, the OtterBox is available. Check it out. I personally ordered mine off of Amazon, but you can't get it off the OtterBox. Unfortunately, though, I do wish T-Mobile would really start putting things like this on their website and actually put accessories that work. Because if you remember from my Moga Pro controller video review, I also mentioned that the stand on it works just fine on my GS4, but my Gorilla stand does not fit it, nor my Evo 3D. So if there's two things I had to say about T-Mobile, it's learn how to stock OtterBoxes on your website, and learn how to stock accessories that actually fit your phone, please. So do be careful, do get an OtterBox for it. This is kind of fragile, and don't let it sit in your pocket for even for 15 minutes while trying to drive somewhere, because that's how mine got killed in action. And enough of the build quality, other than if you want to play like Apple does, at least learn how to build your stuff properly instead of letting it fail after 3 weeks. But if there's other things I had to say, is that something I should have mentioned in the unbagging video that I made. And don't worry, there's not going to be any feet in this video ever, so you can watch with safety. But in my honest opinion, the GS4 launch was pretty less than stellar, because in this regard, there was way too many teases. Like, it was going to have this CPU, that CPU, 4 cores, 8 cores, which actually the 8 cores did come available on the 3G version, but it's not available in the States. It would come with Keyline Pi when it really didn't. It was going to be on this date, that date, no ETAs. Additionally, Samsung mentioned that there was going to be a 16, 32, and a 64 gig version. So far, unfortunately, the 16 gig version was the only one they've delivered on, except for AT&T, which they've stocked the 32 gig version as well. Verizon, which they're going to have their GS4s in about 10 days or so, in other words, near the end of the month, they're going to be 16 gigs only. So I guess if you can deal with the locked bootloaders, well, the locked/verifiable bootloaders, I should say, I guess AT&T 32 gig is for you. Otherwise, just stick it out with T-Mobile. It's better in the long run. Of course, the 64 gig version was just a tease from the start. So I'm not going to hold my breath for the 64 gig version. But if it does come out, great. Though I strongly doubt it. But with that being said, I did also look at something called the Note 2 from Samsung. Was looking at it around holiday 2012. I'll be honest with you, if they're going to keep teasing the S4 and make it just a big tease, I was going to be this close to considering the Note 2. After playing with it for a while, I probably should have gotten the Note 2, mostly for the Android 4.1.2, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm going to go on to the lock/verifiable bootloaders. Again, what this means is that the bootloader somehow has a code in it to where it checks against your boot image and your recovery image to make sure that it's good to go with your phone as well as your carrier. So like if you put custom firmware or a custom kernel on there and the verification check is not there, your phone just became an instant brick. Most likely Verizon is going to ship with such a bootloader. AT&T already has. T-Mobile and Sprint, on the other hand, are unlocked. But I guess if you want to deal with the lack of 4G LTE, as well as getting shafted when it comes to discounts, like the existing customers don't get jack crap, but the new customers, they'll bend over backwards and kiss their rear ends over and give them all kinds of discounts. So I guess if you want to deal with the Sprint version, do it, but I personally switched to T-Mobile, and for the most part it's been bliss ever since. I should also say that in this regard, with the new phone, I will be getting another one pretty soon. It will have the same shipping speed as the original one. So we'll see how that goes, and with the phone being in the OtterBox, we'll see how that goes. Anyways, we're going to talk about the camera next. I've got some pretty fair warnings about the camera, so listen up. If it's windy outside, or if the phone is like arm's distance away from the camera or better, it's going to sound like you're on the moon. I ran into that a few times when I was shooting some YouTube videos, like in my ball joint videos for the Grand Marquis, as well as several times in the airbag video that I made. Additionally, when you hook the camera up to your computer, if you're using Windows Movie Maker, unfortunately it'll have to convert all the movie files that would be used with Windows Movie Maker. On the other hand, with my Evo 3D, I just plug, drag, drop, edit, and then compile it and then put it on YouTube. So be aware of that. Additionally, just as a fair warning again, if you have 6% or lower charge, don't bother using your camera. It will not let you use it for whatever reason. Unlike my Evo 3D, I could still use the camera even with that very low charge, but I wouldn't get flash, and I still don't get a flash even after 15% of the battery, shall we say. Doesn't matter if it was Evo 3D or the GS4. As for the 4.1.2 on the Note 2, it's very possible that I would go to the Note 2, but I have heard somewhere that not only there may be a custom firmware or something for the GS4 where you can use PS3 and Wii controllers, but I've also heard that you could use a USB on-the-go cable, which when I ordered my OtterBox off of Amazon, I ordered one of those as well. So we'll see how that goes. And keep in mind that the stock firmware on the GS4 is based off of 4.2.2 Android Jelly Bean, not Key Lime Pie, unfortunately. And another thing I do want to mention about the space thing with the 16 gig being pushed is that hopefully it's just a big tease and they'll eventually release it, and then we'll all feel dumb because we all bought the 16 gig and now we got to pay more for the double space. But unfortunately, the Android OS, the Samsung bloat, and the T-Mobile bloat take up about half of the space that's on your phone. which gets to be a pain in the rear end, especially with websites wanting this app, that app, etc., bigger games, and all that. And Google removed the function to move apps to the SD card. I think that's called App2SD, but I'm not for sure on that. But they removed it for Jelly Bean, and it's most likely going to be gone for Key Lime Pie too, which unfortunately is a big pain for those of us that unfortunately bought the 16 gig like I did, and we want to use more and more apps. And they always say, get a 34 gig SD card. Wrong. You can't use apps on it anymore. It's been removed. So learn how to release 32 gig versions or better of your stuff, and don't be a bitch about it. But as far as the PS3 and Wii controllers, unfortunately right now it's Android 4.2.2, so don't expect too much in that regard. But with the USB on the go cable, hopefully we'll see how that goes, and hopefully this version of CyanogenMod will come out that supports PS3 controllers and Wii controllers. And I'm happy to say, speaking of CyanogenMod, they do have nightlies out for it. Personally, I'm going to wait for a stable release before I even think about touching it. If a stable release does come out, of course, I will install it, show you guys how to install it in a recovery, and then do an initial impressions video review on that particular version of CyanogenMod. So do be on the lookout for that. Screen clarity. I must say that the screen is actually pretty good and pretty clear. I can actually view my emails all in one shot and all on one screen, whereas before I'd have to do the side-scrolling stuff. Additionally, if you like to play Angry Birds and such a lot, on my Evo 3D, the icons and stuff like this, on my GS4, and probably on my Nexus 7 as well, was like this. So just as a fair warning, keep that in mind if you have big hands like these. Unfortunately, when I had my GS4, there was some UI quirks in the lag. Like sometimes when I'd open up the app, instead of getting my shiny blue background, it would go black, then load the app. There was also a little bit of lag when switching between the different panes on the home screen. I'm quite aware that they did release a firmware update that addressed this and several other issues, but I got confused on how to upgrade from that, especially when I had my phone rooted. So here's to hoping that the replacement phone will come with the latest firmware installed, but I can root it from there and then enjoy my fast blazing Galaxy S4 again. Yeah. And of course there are rooting instructions. I will post them in the video description for those on the old firmware still, and for those on the newer firmware. As far as charging goes, charging and battery life, charging's pretty good. It charges pretty quickly, more so than the Evo 3D. It actually goes from 0 to 100% just fine, whereas if you remember from the Evo 3D, it would go like 0 to 99% just fine, but it would take like an hour or two to reach the full 100%. So when compared to that, this is better. Battery life, I managed to get about 2 days or so on idle when running games and apps, so it would be like between 8 and 16 hours of use. So make sure you have a charger handy always, and one of those nifty little battery packs or a solar panel handy. Let's see, anything else that I have to add about the GS4? I guess that's all I gotta say in my fair, balanced, and objective review on it. Bottom line, if you want the S4, make sure to get an OtterBox, and in my honest opinion, go to T-Mobile. They'll take really good care of you, but please stay away from the mall carts at T-Mobile. They will make you feel like you're at a car lot. It's like, we're selling phones, not cars, so knock off your high-pressured bull crap. If you can fix that, T-Mobile, as well as, you know, making sure that all your stands and such fit your GS4s and such, That'd be great. Anyways, I'm Adventure Link, closing out my video review of the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the T-Mobile by quoting EricTheCarGuy and saying, "Be safe, have fun, and stay dirty." And if you have anything to add to this video review, as well as any questions, comments, concerns, praise, criticisms, etc., hit me up in the comment section. If you have any questions about mobile devices as a whole, which covers most devices, popular ones from the Android operating system, Windows Phone, iOS, and BlackBerry/Research in Motion, then hit up the XDA developer forums. But just as a fair warning, their community base is bigger than my Grand Marquis and 70s Lincoln Continentals, if anyone remembers those. So search before posting. Most likely your question has already been answered at least once, if not several times, in the GS4 forum. It has a lot of activity and a lot of questions have been asked and answered, so again, search before posting. Subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down buttons. You know where they're at and what they do. And it's starting to get humid and warm outside, so make sure you stay cool and stay hydrated. Stay healthy. Don't forget to scan your spoo. And sometimes your pee slip. One more thing. I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. Because there's no one I'd rather be than me. See you next time. Have a nice day. And enjoy the GS4 if you get it. And T-Mobile service.